coaster of emotions like where build a big lead, despite being shorthanded, they cut it all the way down, get ahead with the Randall bucket, and then you got to find a way to get your guys a shot in those final seconds. How do you go up and down there?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It wasn't much of an emotional roller coaster for me. I don't think it was for our guys either. We executed against the zone. We got good shots. Had a couple, offensive rebound, drop-off passes that we just bobbled around the rim. But we actually did a good job of executing and missed some really good threes. There was no break in composure. There was no break in competitive spirit. There was no break in belief of whether or not we could win the game. I thought the guys, those last two plays, because they ran zone for 4.5 minutes. So those last two plays, to drop two plays, one versus man, one versus zone. They ended up running man both times for us to get that execution, get it to the right guy, create an advantage. Both times, really. We had an advantage. Austin was easily going to race that and create a 5-on-4 or a 4-on-3. So I thought that was huge from our guys. I'm so proud of this group right now. Honestly, it's from where we were like 3 weeks ago, where we're discombobulated and guys are missing training camp and guys are modified participants. We're starting to come together, and I've asked a lot of these guys, and I'm asking a lot of them while we're undermanned, and they're delivering. They're delivering. They earned this victory.
Clearly, they were paying a lot of attention to Austin, and he ends up with a career high tying 16 assists. But for him to, I think he's basically split the double and is able to still score through traffic. Like, what is that moment to peak it? But what does it say about his whole game?
Yeah, that guy is going to show up in the big moments. It's not surprised. He's done that many times in his career. He's done that many times since I've been his coach. Feel very comfortable with him making decisions at late game.
When I guess you have timeout 6.6 seconds left, whatever. At that point, that's where you're referring to drawing off both a play against the zone and against man?
The first one, yeah. So the first one after Randall scored,
right.
We drew up two plays,
Yep.
One versus zone, one versus man.
Right.
Then we drew up, after they had a take foul, we drew up another two plays.
Okay.
With just a small tweak. That's all it was.
Got it.
For the man version.
And in the man version, generally, obviously the ball in Austin's hand, but what was kind of, if you could describe in a layman's term, kind of what you're looking for? Obviously, he scored, so you got what you're looking for.
I thought those guys did a great job of reading it on the floor. What we were looking for was not going to happen because of how Gobert was playing. So we changed it last second. He was all the way back at the rim, or in the paint. And so we changed it the last second. Austin got the ball, and then DA made a great, quick decision just to come under that ball screen, and Gobert was too far back, and Austin attacked.
JJ, I think you guys had 5 guys in double figures tonight, and one of those guys was Jake. What did you think about his composure and the way he played for you?
Well, very early in his Laker career, but clearly his best game as a Laker. I'm really happy for him, and I know they showed something the other day. I think it was the Amazon video about reference points, and for Jake as a Laker, this game now is a reference point. Not only for the offense, again, he's had 2 of the last 3 games. He's been phenomenal defensively. His activity level, deflections. I'll find out, but. 6 or 7 deflections tonight. He ended up with, 1 steal and a block, but that doesn't really capture his level of activity defensively. And then just continuing to have confidence in his shot and belief in that was big.
It looked like there were times where he was guarding Julius Randle and wasn't backing down at all. Was that intentional, or that's just on a switch? But Jake was guarding Julius it looked like he was on him.
Yeah, it's our switching
quite
group.
a bit. Okay.
It's our switching group.
The last part, what you said, Jake with his shot, finding confidence. At previous games, it seemed like he would, the good to great, right? He would may have had a good shot, he pumped the guy of it, passed it. Seems like tonight he was more aggressive. How How important is that for his development? You mentioned even earlier that during this period you're shorthanded.
Yeah.
Hope you're better for it through adversity.
Yeah, the reality is, this is just the reality of how we have to play. The reality is, we are not a free flowing motion, get the ball across half court in 3 seconds. We try to look for opportunities to do that. That's just not who we are. We're a slower team, and he's played in very fast-paced environments where, he doesn't go 5 possessions without touching the ball. The reality is, guys like him, guys like Gabe, guys like Rui, it's a bit of an adjustment with our personnel, and Luka, LeBron, AR. Those guys are going to have the ball in their hands, and they're going to be our advantage creators. And those guys have to stay shot ready, regardless of. I've missed 5 in a row. I've missed 6 in a row. If we go through the process of creating a good shot, you got to take that shot. There was one in the zone where I can't remember who the second guy was. We created 2 good looks against the zone. We passed them both down. I think that was one of our bad possessions against the zone. Ended up in a turnover.
JJ, 51 on Sunday, 41 on Monday. These numbers tonight. You guys are going to get Luka. You're going to get LeBron back. But what does this stretch from Austin do for him as this group gets whole?
To me, he's established himself as a bad dude. Like he did that last year. He thought, I think league wide he was viewed as a really good player, and maybe some people viewed him, what tier he is, I don't know. I don't care about that. But last year, I think he established himself as a bad dude. A bad. Again, I can't use certain words, but this is kind of who he is. He had that stretch, for 3.5 months of the regular season last year, whatever it is, where he's 22, 7, and 6, or whatever the numbers were. But he's done it. For me, I think the big thing is he's established himself as like the leader. He's one of the leaders or the leader on the court, and that's big time.